The crystalline spires of the command vessel Dominion hummed with anticipation. Queen Vexera stood motionless, her iridescent exoskeleton catching the blue glow of the detention field. Inside the energy barrier floated an unconscious human male, suspended as if in water. His plain surveyor's uniform bore the insignia of Earth's Outer Colonies Initiative, precisely the intelligence opportunity she had been waiting for. "Is this truly worth your personal attention, my queen?" Commander Truzak's voice resonated through their psychic link, tinged with concern. "Our neural extractor's cold." Silence. Vexera's mental command severed his thought midstream. She circled the containment field, studying the human's unremarkable form. 2 arms, 2 legs, a fragile body that housed such a limited mind. The humans had expanded too quickly, their colonies encroaching on territories the ascendancy had marked for assimilation. This one's thoughts will provide the access codes to their defense grid. Their expansion ends here. The human stirred, consciousness returning as the sedation wore off. His eyes, a curious brown color, opened and focused with surprising clarity. Vexera felt a momentary admiration. Most species remain disoriented far longer after exposure to ascendancy capture protocols. "James Porter," he said, his voice steady. "Survey Corps, Identification 772 Alpha 94. I'm a civilian cartographer." His eyes tracked her movements with precision. "And you're making a serious diplomatic mistake." Vexera's mouthparts clicked in amusement. "Your designation is irrelevant. Your function as Earth's forward scout is obvious." She approached the field boundary, towering a full head above him. "Your species sends its spies disguised as scientists and surveyors. Unimaginative, but occasionally effective." "Not a spy," James said, testing the boundaries of his containment with careful movements. "Just mapping resource deposits on Proxima B. If you're looking for military intelligence, you've captured the wrong person. Your deception skills are also unimpressive." Vexera gestured to Truzak, who lowered the intensity of the field. James dropped to his feet on the platform, maintaining his balance with surprising grace. "The ascendancy has dominated 17 sentient species. Each believed their minds impenetrable. Each was proven wrong." James' expression remained neutral, though Vexera detected the quickening of his pulse. "I've heard stories about your kind. The thought takers. Most civilized worlds consider mental violation a crime. Primitives fear what they cannot understand," Vexera replied. She dismissed her subordinates with a psychic command, leaving only the 2 of them in the chamber. "Your resistance is unnecessary. The process can be painless." "I'm not resisting anything," James said, meeting her compound eyes without flinching. "There's nothing in my head worth taking." Vexera's antennae quivered with anticipation. "That is for me to determine." She moved to a control panel, adjusting the field to immobilize him. "Your world's defensive capabilities, colony locations, technological developments, all will become mine." "You're making a mistake," James said softly. "The ascendancy does not make mistakes." Vexera's inner eyelids slid closed as she initiated the psychic connection. Her consciousness extended outward, enveloping his mind like fog surrounding a mountain. "Your thoughts will become mine. Your secrets will." The first touch of his consciousness was like plunging into an ocean when expecting a shallow pool. Vexera's psychic tendrils scattered, encountering not the ordered pathways of a typical mind, but something vast and chaotic, beautiful and terrifying in its complexity. "What are you?" Her thought echoed in the space between them. James's eyes locked with hers, a small smile forming on his lips. "Just human," he whispered as her consciousness began to drown in the unexpected depths of his mind. Vexera had dominated hundreds of minds across the galaxy, but James Porter's consciousness defied her expectations. Instead of the orderly pathways she typically navigated, his mind was an ever-shifting landscape of emotion and memory, vibrant currents that pulled her in contradictory directions. "Impossible," she whispered, her physical form trembling as she maintained the connection. In the containment chamber, her antennae quivered with strain. James remained still, watching her with that unsettling calm. Finding what you're looking for. Vexera ignored him, pushing deeper. She sought military information, defense codes, fleet positions, weaknesses, but encountered only fragments. The smell of rain on Earth's soil, the warmth of sunlight through leaves, a child's laughter. Each memory connected to emotions so raw and intense, they made her psychic sensors recoil. Your resistance technique is unusual, she managed, adjusting her approach, but ultimately futile. I'm not resisting, James replied, his voice distant as she probed deeper. This is just who I am. Vexera targeted his recent memories, seeking data about the colony outpost. Instead, she experienced his wonder at seeing Proxima B's twin moons rising over the horizon. His appreciation for the alien landscape knocked her mental constructs off balance. He had cataloged the beauty of her territories with genuine reverence, not strategic assessment. You feel too much, she accused, both physically and through their connection. James winced as she pushed harder, but his mind remained an unfathomable ocean. That's what humans do. We feel. Frustrated, she abandoned subtlety and drove her consciousness like a spear toward what appeared to be a protected memory, something he valued. His mental defenses flickered, and she broke through, and found herself experiencing his last night on Earth, a farewell gathering, friends raising glasses under stars, the ache of leaving tangled with excitement for discovery, love for people and places, complex and contradictory. Stop this, she demanded, unsure if she spoke aloud or through their connection. James's eyes opened, somehow seeing her true self beyond physical form. I can't stop being human, and you can't stop experiencing what you've connected to. Commander Trizak's voice came through her communicator. My queen, your life signs are fluctuating. Shall we terminate the subject? No. The word escaped before she could consider it. Leave us. I will continue alone. When they departed, James spoke softly. You don't have to fear this. The ascendancy fears nothing, she replied automatically, but her certainty was already eroding. She had expected to conquer his mind. Instead, she was struggling to preserve her own identity against the tide of his humanity. Then why are you trembling? He asked. Vexera realized her physical form was indeed shaking. Worse, somewhere in the connection between them, boundaries were blurring. His memories were becoming accessible to her not as information to extract, but as experiences she was beginning to understand. Your species is not as we believed, she admitted reluctantly. Your minds should be primitive, tactical, not this. Maybe that's why you're here, James suggested. Not to take information, but to learn something your species has forgotten. Vexera withdrew partially from his mind, needing distance, but the connection remained, a bridge between profoundly different beings. For the first time in her existence as queen, she faced something she could not dominate through psychic force, and the realization was both terrifying and strangely exhilarating. Rest, she commanded, though her tone lacked its former authority. We will continue tomorrow. As she turned to leave, a fragment of his thought brushed against her consciousness. Not resistance, but curiosity about her. Interest, not fear. No captured being had ever wondered about her before. 3 cycles had passed since Vexera began probing James Porter's mind, and the Ascendancy vessel remained in orbit around Proxima B. Commander Trizak and the other officers exchanged concerned glances as their queen spent increasingly longer periods in the containment area. You're fighting your own instincts, James observed during their 7th session. The restraints that had once held him were deactivated. They both knew they were unnecessary now. Vexera's compound eyes reflected the soft blue illumination of the chamber. The Ascendancy does not fight itself. We are unified in purpose. Are you? James stepped closer than protocol would allow. Then why haven't you called in your fleet? Your mission was to extract Earth's weaknesses, yet here we are, talking about Shakespeare and ancient human philosophy. She turned away, her iridescent exoskeleton catching the light. Your mind remains complex. Extraction takes time. Or maybe you don't want to extract anything anymore, he suggested. Maybe you're discovering that connection doesn't have to mean domination. Their mental link had evolved beyond her control. When she entered his consciousness now, he welcomed her, guiding rather than resisting. Today, he had shown her Earth's oceans, the sensation of swooning beneath waves. She had experienced the curious feeling of water supporting a body, so different from the rigid structure of ascendancy existence. Your emotions are contaminating my purpose, she admitted, mandibles clicking in agitation. They're not contaminating anything. They're awakening something that was always there. James reached out slowly, giving her time to retreat, but she remained still as his fingers gently touched her forearm, sending unprecedented sensations through her nervous system. The first queen taught that other species exist to be subsumed, Vexera said, her voice uncertain. Their knowledge added to our collective. Their will broken to strengthen our own. And you've never questioned that. James's hand remained on her arm, warm against her cool exoskeleton. Through their mental connection, she allowed him to see the rigidity of ascendancy upbringing, the crushing weight of conformity, the isolation of her elevation to queen. In return, he opened memories she hadn't accessed before, his childhood rebellion against authority, his decision to explore space against his family's wishes, the liberating solitude he found among stars. We are not so different, she whispered, surprising herself. The ship's alarm suddenly blared. Commander Trizak's voice came through the communication system. My queen, a human fleet has entered the system. They seek their missing surveyor. James showed no triumph, no satisfaction at rescue. Instead, through their connection, she felt his concern for her. What will you do? He asked quietly. Vexera moved to the control panel, her decision already forming. The logical choice would be to use you as a hostage, to extract what information I can before conflict begins. But I can no longer view your mind as merely information to be harvested. She faced him fully. Your humanity hasn't just resisted my control. It has changed me. James stepped closer, their mental connection deepening. Then show me who you're becoming. For the first time, she initiated contact not to dominate, but to share, her consciousness entwined with his, not as invader, but as equal. The sensation was unlike anything in ascendancy teaching, vulnerable, frightening, yet filled with a power entirely different from control. Her physical form moved toward him as their minds danced together, antennae gently brushing his face in the ascendancy gesture of deepest trust. Your people are coming for you, she said softly. But before they arrive, I need to understand this connection between us. As physical and mental boundaries dissolved, Vexera realized she was experiencing something the ascendancy had always dismissed as weakness. Intimacy freely given, not taken. And in that vulnerability lay a strength she had never imagined possible. The Queen has been compromised. Commander Trizak's words hung in the council chamber. The 5 sub-commanders of the Dominion shifted uncomfortably. She refuses to extract the human's knowledge or use him against the approaching Earth fleet. Sub-Commander Krebs' antennae flattened against her head. It is forbidden to question the Queen's decisions. It is also our duty to protect the ascendancy, Trizak countered. I have observed changes in her psychic signature. The human has affected her somehow. Unaware of the brewing mutiny, Vexera stood with James on the observation deck. The vastness of space stretched before them, Earth's diplomatic vessels visible as distant points of light. Your people approach cautiously, she noted, not with the aggression we expected. James smiled. Humans can surprise you. We're not always what others expect us to be. As I have learned, Vexera's normally rigid posture had softened over the past days. Through their mental connection, fragments of his humanity had taken root in her consciousness, compassion, curiosity, the capacity for change. Similarly, he had absorbed aspects of her, discipline, perception beyond physical senses, appreciation for cosmic patterns. The ascendancy teaches that individuality is weakness, she said, mandibles moving in contemplation. That only through unity can we achieve perfection. Yet in your beautiful chaos, I've discovered something authentic. James turned toward her, his expression serious. And what happens when you return to your people? When this moment between species ends? The question crystallized fears she'd been avoiding. Their mental connection had grown so intimate that separation seemed unimaginable. She had experienced his memories as her own. Childhood joy, adult passion, the complex tapestry of human bonds. And she had shared with him the vast collective knowledge of the ascendancy, the unity of purpose that now felt increasingly like a prison. I am change, she admitted. The ascendancy may reject what I've become. James reached for her hand, his 5 fingers intertwining with her 3. Or you could change the ascendancy. The door slid open. Commander Trizek entered with 4 guards, their stances aggressive. My queen, the council has convened. We request your presence, without the human. Vexera sensed their intentions immediately. The mental backlash of their disloyalty staggered her. You dare question me? We question what you have become, Trizek replied. The human will be properly processed. The mission will continue as ordained. Through their connection, James felt her shock and anger. They cannot understand what we've discovered. Then show them, he suggested silently. Vexera straightened to her full height. You believe I am compromised, Commander. You cannot comprehend that I am evolving. She extended her consciousness, not to dominate as she once would have, but to share, offering Trizek a glimpse of what she had experienced through James. The commander recoiled physically, antenna whipping backward. This emotional contamination. It proves our concerns. It proves your limitations, Vexera countered. For generations, we have consumed other species' knowledge while dismissing their wisdom. We take their science but ignore their souls. The human has corrupted you, Trizek hissed. James stepped forward. She's not corrupted. She's awakened. The guards raised their weapons, but froze as Vexera unleashed her psychic presence, not with the cold precision of ascendancy tradition, but with the passionate intensity she had learned from James. The guards dropped to their knees, overwhelmed by unfamiliar emotional currents. I remain queen, she said quietly, but I will no longer rule through domination alone. Later, alone in her chambers, James held her as tremors ran through her exoskeleton, the physical manifestation of psychological transformation. Your crew fears you now more than ever, he murmured. No, she corrected, her voice soft against his chest. They fear themselves, the possibilities they glimpsed through me. She raised her face to his. We have hours before we must face your approaching fleet. Show me more of what it means to be human. Their minds merged once again, but this time their bodies followed, discovering impossible points of connection between such different forms. What began as an exploration of alien biology transformed into a profound communion of spirits, the ultimate defiance of the barriers between their kinds. The diplomatic chamber aboard the Earth vessel Concordia fell silent as Queen Vexera entered. Without her royal adornments, wearing only the simplest ascendancy attire, she still commanded attention, but the Earth representatives noted the change in her bearing. Beside her walked James Porter, no longer prisoner but clearly something unprecedented. Partner, translator, bridge. Admiral Elena Kostova addressed them first. Surveyor Porter, when we traced your emergency beacon to an ascendancy vessel, we feared the worst. Your situation appears more complex than anticipated. James bowed slightly. Admiral, may I present Queen Vexera of the Ascendancy? She comes as an envoy of peace, not conquest. Murmurs rippled through the assembled diplomats. The Ascendancy had never negotiated. They had only dominated. An unexpected development, Kostova replied cautiously. Our intelligence suggested the Ascendancy was preparing for expansion into human territory. That was our intention, Vexera acknowledged, her translator rendering her complex tonal language into English, until I encountered James Porter's mind. The Admiral's eyebrows rose. One human changed the policy of an interstellar empire. One human reminded me of truths the ascendancy had forgotten. Vexera corrected. That true strength comes not from dominating other minds, but connecting with them. That diversity creates resilience which uniformity cannot achieve. James added, the Queen has taken significant risks to arrange this meeting. Her own command structure attempted to prevent her from contacting us peacefully. Vexera's antennae moved in a pattern James now recognized as determination. For generations, the ascendancy has absorbed other species through psychic domination, taking their knowledge while erasing their unique perspectives. This approach has left us powerful but stagnant. She moved forward, placing a data crystal on the conference table. This contains scientific knowledge freely given, not taken. Consider it the first exchange between equals. Admiral Costoa studied the alien queen. And what does the ascendancy want in return? Understanding, Vexera replied simply. The beginning of genuine communication between our civilizations. And, she hesitated, glancing at James, I request that James Porter serve as liaison. His mind has proven uniquely compatible with our psychic communication methods. The Admiral looked between them, clearly sensing deeper currents. Surveyor Porter, your thoughts? James straightened. I believe this represents an unprecedented opportunity, Admiral. The connection I've established with Queen Vexera could benefit both our species. What remained unspoken, the profound bond that had formed between them, hung in the air, evident to all who observed them together. Hours later, as the diplomatic teams worked through preliminary agreements, James and Vexera stood alone in the Concordia's observation lounge, watching the stars. Your Admiral suspects the nature of our connection, Vexera noted. She's perceptive. James smiled. Humans have stories about this, you know. Different species finding common ground, forming bonds that transform both worlds. The ascendancy has no such stories, she replied. We have only conquest. Until now. She turned to face him fully. I must return soon. My presence is required to prevent civil war within the collective. This transformation cannot happen through force. The irony would destroy everything we've learned. I understand. James took her hands in his. And I'll be beside you, helping translate this new vision to both our peoples. Vexera's consciousness brushed against his, their now familiar mental embrace carrying emotions no verbal language could express. When I entered your mind to conquer it, I never imagined I would instead find freedom. And when I was captured, I never imagined I would find home in the mind of my captor, he replied. Around them, the stars witnessed something unprecedented, not the submission of one species to another, but the birth of something entirely new. Their unique connection, human resilience with ascendancy perception, Earth passion with alien wisdom, offered possibilities neither civilization had imagined. We have difficult paths ahead, Vexera acknowledged. James nodded, his mind open to hers. But we'll face them together, not as conqueror and conquered, but as equals who found strength in surrender. As diplomatic discussions continued throughout the ship, they remained still, two beings from distant stars whose unexpected bond had altered the course of cosmic history. In seeking to dominate a single human mind, Vexera had instead discovered a truth that would transform worlds. True power came not from breaking another's will, but from the courage to allow yourself to be changed by connection.